Hey everybody, it's Lisa Vino here, and I'm with Kate Hall, and she is going to talk all about TikTok. And I would love it, Kate, if you would nerd out about the algorithm because that was really fun. I am taking your course, and you could talk about that too. And if anyone here has questions, you can pop them in the chat and take it away, Kate.
Hi, as Lee said, I am Kate. I have been doing TikTok actually just since December of 2022. I had a really awful year in 2022, and then Luna Pierce was like, "Hey, will you help me with my TikTok?" And I was like, "I guess. I don't know what I'm doing though." And then I started, and I'm this type of person, I think it's the autism where I will research anything I do like really deeply, and I really love marketing and I always have. I actually worked in marketing at a corporate area, like in the corporate world for a very short time. And I've done a lot of marketing stuff. It's like my favorite thing. I love to nerd out about it. So whenever she asked me to do TikTok, I was like, I'm going to learn every single thing there is to know about TikTok. I'm going to watch every YouTube video. I'm going to watch every TikTok about how to do TikTok. I'm going to listen to every podcast. I'm going to do it. And then the thing has kind of exploded from there. I run Align Digital Solutions. We do TikTok. Like I just focus on TikTok for authors. And it's my favorite thing in the whole world. Um, and what I always say is my goal is to make women rich. Um, that's always what I want. And so let's talk about the algorithm because I think what happens is a lot of people, and the big thing they tell me is they're like, so many people are already doing so well on TikTok, and I have no idea how it works. And I'm so scared to try it because it's just this big, like, scary thing, and I don't understand it. And so, how am I supposed to get started when there's so much to know? Um, and that's what I'm here for. So, with the algorithm, there's a couple of basic things you want to know. The first is that the TikTok algorithm works off of seconds watched. um, it doesn't work off of like percentage like Instagram and YouTube, including Instagram and YouTube Shorts. Those work off of percentage of the video watched. So they want you to watch 100% of the video or 90% of the video. And TikTok doesn't work like that. TikTok works off of seconds watched because they really understand how attention span works, especially with younger generations and such, which is the main audience that's on TikTok. Although I have seen a few people who've taken my course who are like, yeah, most of the people who watch my TikToks are 55 and up, and I've had like 50,000 views, and there's like 60% that's 55 and up. So there is an audience for everyone, I think, on TikTok, which is so different than it was 6 months ago, even because these audiences are always changing. And I think that as people start to see people succeed, they're starting to join the app. Which is why teenagers are like, ew, TikTok's gross. I don't use TikTok anymore. I use some other app. I don't know. I'm 30. I don't know what apps the teens use. um, so whenever it comes to seconds watch, though, I like to say if you can get people watching until they are 20 seconds into the video, you have succeeded. Um, but the hardest hurdle with that is getting people to watch the first 3 seconds of the video. Because again, attention spans are so low. And so you have to get them to the 20-second mark, but first you have to get them past the first second, the first 3 seconds. So whether you're making content that is slideshows or page flip videos, or whether you are talking to the camera, you have to get people past that first second. And unlike my husband, who's like, how will I know if I like a video if I haven't watched the entire thing? And I'm like, that's why your FYP is so screwy. Like, that's why your algorithm is so messed up, because TikTok doesn't know what you like. But basically, if you've watched 3 seconds of a video, TikTok is going to show you more of that type of content. So if people are watching 3 seconds of your video, then TikTok is going to show them more of your content. And whenever it comes to the stuff you're making, you've got to get people past that first 3 seconds. So what I always say is to give people a really big emotional response in your first 3 seconds. Um, I don't know, Lee, I feel like you've probably read it, the 7-Figure Fiction Guide to Universal Fantasy by T. Taylor. I absolutely swear by that book, especially for finding stuff in your books that already exist. for your initial hook, because I love to throw that initial 3 seconds, that first slide, that first sentence out of my mouth with that universal fantasy. Whether it's when the bad boy billionaire finds her getting dumped on her birthday. You know, that hits so many of those universal fantasies of like, you know, the bad boy wants me, the most powerful person wants me, all this kind of stuff. And then whenever you're actually talking to the camera, you want to make sure you go ahead and say that, because with TikTok and even with YouTube now, you don't want to start your videos with, "Hi, I'm Kate and I write books about this," and then go into your hook, because by the time you start your sentence of, "Hi, I'm Kate," people are like, "I don't care. I don't know you. Why would I watch your video? I don't care what this is about. I'm not going to watch it to find out," because you've already lost my attention in the "Hi, I'm" section.
Heard this too. Like millennials will pause.
Yes.
Gen Z either doesn't pause or they edit, so there is no pause. But
Mhm.
like whatever, Gen X pausing is because our devices literally took a second to like start or warm up or whatever.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, absolutely.
quick poll. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're good.
Does anyone here just hit that age where TikTok just makes you feel old and tired? Because that was me. And oh my God. I'd like, that's why I'm getting into it like years after everyone's like popping. Because I was like, I can't deal with another thing. Like literally there's a pandemic. I have a year old. And at the same time, I really am enjoying your energy around it, Kate, because you're excited about it. And it is fun to, I mean, knowledge is power. So when you say you know, you went all in, your autism is your superpower for sure.
It
Because
is.
you're like, yeah, I'm really grateful you did that, because I was like, nope, taking a nap for 5 years. Like,
Listen, my autism is my superpower when it comes to like learning skills and marketing, but it's terrible when somebody offers me food, because then I have a panic attack, because I'm like, wait, I'm a picky eater, and then I have a full panic attack before I can even get to what I want to eat. um, but yeah, so you were talking about the pause. It's actually colloquially known as the millennial pause. And like, as I am a millennial and it makes me feel old. I'm 30 and it makes me feel so old when somebody's like, "Ooh, millennials and their pause before their videos." And it's true though, because people will be scrolling through TikTok and they're scrolling really fast, and so they'll scroll, and if there's a pause before you start talking, then by the time you're talking, they're already past your video. So if you do like make face content, either don't pause before you start speaking, or whenever you go on to the next section after you've finished recording everything, just edit out that little pause. Like, you're not allowed to breathe in videos at this point. Like, if you take a breath to keep talking, you got to edit that out. If you have a pause in between different clips, you got to edit that out, because you're going to bore the teens and the early 20s. I have an author friend who is in her early 20s and she calls me her grandmother.
just know. I found the term for my age is geriatric millennial. And I was like, officer, I'd like to report an assault.
Sorry
yeah,
for that massive laugh I just did.
Not face videos. I'm like, okay, all my videos are now excerpts or the slideshows. You taught us to do a bulk create of slideshows. I'm like, that's my jam. Thank you.
Bulk create saved my entire sanity, especially when I used to post for clients. I don't anymore. Because it just became too stressful, and people would be like, "Well, this isn't working immediately," especially when the app just like, you might have, if you're using TikTok or if you've been using TikTok, the app just like stopped working for like 4 months for everyone across the board, 4 to 6 months. From basically March until July, I want to say, it just wasn't working for anybody. It was a nightmare. And so, you know, it was just too stressful to try to keep up clients and try to do that whenever I would say like, "Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. TikTok's not working right now." Because, you know, they were like, "I'm sorry, I can't afford to keep putting money into this if it's not doing it." So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I
but
think
yeah.
us got stuck around 200, 300 page
Mhm.
views, which you talk about how
Yeah.
to fix that for sure.
Yes. So the app is working again. We get a couple of weeks here and there where it's not working, and that's because and I'm gonna answer the question about Bolt Create here in a minute, but let's see. I'm gonna keep talking and then I'll answer questions here in a few. Because if I stop and answer questions, I'm gonna get so sidetracked constantly. So with the getting stuck at 2,300 and stuff, we'll see a week or two now and then where like everybody's views are down, and that's because TikTok is like fixing some stuff, rolling out updates. If they have a big update coming, then they're going to roll out a bunch of small updates over the course of a week. Every time your app updates, your algorithm resets for the videos you watch, which means, yeah, it's awful every single time. So like people you're following, you'll still see their stuff, but you're going to see stuff that went viral 3 months ago in like general TikTok. So you know that they're resetting the algorithm and like they're updating when you see a video that's like a month old that went viral when it was posted. And another way that I notice this is because I run like 10 accounts for myself because of Bolt Create. It makes my life so easy. So whenever I'm checking the FYP on all of them to see if they've updated, then I'll be scrolling through and editing, and I'll see the same exact video on every single account I run. So yeah, so basically if they're rolling out a bunch of updates, then you're gonna see a dip in views. You're gonna see everybody is complaining, why are all my videos at 200 or 300? And that's because they're rolling out updates. So another thing about the 200 or 300 views is the reason you get stuck there is because TikTok will show your video pretty rapidly, usually within the first hour, but sometimes it's like within the first few hours. They'll show your video or your slideshow or whatever to 200, 250 people, right? They're automatically going to do that if they think that your content is aesthetically pleasing based off their bots and doesn't break any community guidelines. If you are below 200 views on any of your content, then they either think that their bots either think it doesn't look good or that it might be breaking community guidelines. So that's why I have like a specific format that I use for all of my content and specific rules that I don't break, because I know that these things aren't going to get community guidelines. So if you're stuck at 200 or 300, that means that overall people aren't watching more than 3 seconds of your video. Or it could also mean TikTok thinks that your account is a bot account. And that's when we let the account rest for a few days, but we go in and we interact meaningfully with other authors, with their slideshows, with their videos about books, with book talkers. We interact meaningfully because that shows TikTok that we're not bots. If you go in and comment like the heart, like the smiley face with the hearts around it emoji on like a dozen posts, TikTok is going to be like, oh yeah, definite bot. But if you go in and watch a slideshow and then you're like, you know, oh my God, are you serious? A knife or whatever? Then TikTok's going to be like, they watched the video. This means something. So being stuck in 200-300 either means they think you're a bot account, or it means that your hooks aren't the hook that you're using. They're not compelling enough to keep people there past the 3 seconds, or especially past the 20 seconds. Because what's going to go viral is the stuff that consistently gets people past, that 20-second mark.
Yeah, someone just said that they were stuck and then they paused.
Yeah.
And you say to pause, and then like you said, go and be a person on
yes. Pretend that your account is run by a person and not, an exhausted, blob of
millennial
self-loathing that we call authors.
Millennial trying to be a robot. So
I mean, and consider that everything I teach here and in my, TikTok for Authors course is it's stuff like you're doing several jobs. As an author, we already know. Traditionally published authors or people in corporate industries, you're doing one job. If you work marketing in a corporate environment, you're doing one job. You're doing, say, if you're the social media manager, you're posting on Facebook and you're bulk posting, you're batching all of your content on a scheduler. But if you're an author, you have to write this book. You have to make sure this book gets edited. You have to contact people. You have to hire extra people. If you do that, you have to figure out these TikTok algorithms, and nobody cares as much about your book succeeding as you do. And I think that's true in self and traditional publishing. And that's why I'm like, I think that TikTok it's changed so much for so many people. And like, just a basic understanding of the algorithm is a huge part of that.
Yeah. Quick caveat, if you are in burnout mode, do whatever it takes for you to be better, because this is, your health is more important than anything. And I have to say, I ignored TikTok. I hired other people to run it, which allowed me to close the mental loop and be like, I'm not doing TikTok. The only reason I'm back is because I am taking Theodora Taylor's butter work course.
Me too.
I love it. And I want to like continue with that. And the other is I've switched to doing all video ads on Facebook. And my Facebook ads are pretty on. It makes me kind of feel old as an author, because I'm like, I'm Facebook ad generation when we didn't have TikTok. But I do a lot into Facebook ads, mostly because I have the budget and I don't have time. I have money. So I'm like, throw money at Zuck. I feel dirty saying that. But anyway, so I'm like, all right, if you make these hooky videos that do well on TikTok, and it's instant feedback. I know within an hour, I'm like, one, I think, my hooks need to be better. And two, sometimes it's that I've shown skin on the, like I put a person on, and you're like, don't do that. There's rules about that you talk about in the course, to get around that. But I know immediately what is hooky, and that feedback is really powerful, because, I saw today someone posted like, this is really hard, but once you get the hang of it, your brain just works that way. And I'm like, yes, I want my brain to work this way. I want to be able to be thinking about hooks. And when I enter my books, be writing with butter and be writing with that fun stuff, because it's fun for me.
Yeah.
It's going to make me want to book more. So, if you don't want to do TikTok, don't. But if you're here, there's a bunch of things you can do to get better at and use the TikTok videos for. And so I'm like, all right, doing TikTok allows me to make video ads and know how to make better hooky books and better hooky marketing. So
yeah. Well, and the biggest thing that I teach and that I tell people is like, it doesn't matter. And this is actually relevant to Beth's question that she just asked. But I'm not saying this just because Beth commented. I just happened to think of it. It doesn't matter how spicy your books are. What matters is the emotional impact of what is going on in your book. Because whenever you're posting spicy content, which tends to get community guidelines issues, you might get a viral video occasionally on it. But what happens then is that I would say about 20% of your audience that goes and downloads your book is going to skip forward to the steamy scene that you posted on TikTok, read it, and then maybe skip forward to other steamy scenes and read those, and then return the book. And then you get marked as spam on Amazon, on KDP, if they're doing KDP downloads, if they're doing Kindle Unlimited. And so the thing that you need to do is really work on that emotional resonance, because, and I've been telling people this since February, because TikTok almost got banned in the US. And the reason that Congress people, you can have your reads marked as spam on KU. If it seems like people are just downloading your book and fake reading it, then yes, you can get some of your page reads taken away. And I've seen it happen to a lot of people, and they won't take away the ones that seem like spam. They will take 50% of your page reads for the month. Every time. Yeah. That's why I don't post steamy scenes, because people don't read my books. My books are spicy, but people don't read my books for the spice. they read because, for example, there's a scene that mentions spice in my werewolf book where, one of my werewolf books, I should say. But I mentioned in the first slide, I'm like, when she accidentally said, I love you when they slept together. Like, that's the first slide. It's like a little bit confusing, a little bit embarrassment, and like, this hook is about, really, it's the embarrassment of like, she accidentally said this and now he hasn't responded. And like, that's what people want to know. They're going to say they want to know, and they comment on it every time, and it goes viral about 30% of the time that I post it. And it's people are saying, well, what does he say? Because I don't tell them what he says in the hook. I don't, and it's gone viral a few times. So what matters is the emotions you're appealing to, because the reason that TikTok almost got banned in the US, and well, not the reason, because the real reason is that Google, who owns YouTube, and Meta, who own Facebook, were lobbying Congress to ban TikTok because they can't keep up with TikTok because of TikTok's algorithm being better than theirs. But what they were saying was, first, they were talking about privacy reasons, which, for anyone concerned about the privacy thing, I will just say all of US users' information is actually stored on US servers in a higher security facility than the CIA. I'm not even kidding. They set it up in like February. It is a higher security facility than the CIA. So about security, there's not an issue there. But also, one of the excuses they were using is there is content on there that's dangerous for the kids using the app, for kids who are 13, 14 using the app, for kids who are 8 who aren't supposed to be on the app because it's a 13 and up app. So they have started monitoring, and they have started getting community guidelines laws against spicy content. So that's why I've been telling people since February. I was like, stop the spicy, get rid of the spicy, clear it out. Go with those emotional hooks. Because it's the emotional stuff and that's the stuff that's going to get people to stay. Because having an emotional investment in the characters is going to be what gets people to actually love the books and to get them to fall in love with your characters. And it's going to be what gets people to read the next one. Because yeah, sure, we love spicy books. If I read a book and it has no spice, I'm like, okay, excuse me. Which I do love non-spicy books, but if I read one that seems like it's supposed to be and then isn't, that's when I get confused. But, and I know a lot of people who will only read spicy, but spicy is not what's going to get people emotionally invested. Save the spicy stuff for, if people ask in the comments, how spicy is it? Tell them how spicy it is. But they can be pleasantly surprised otherwise.
We got some questions here about genre. Sweet romance, romantic suspense. I think you just told us, because if sweet romance, you have all the feels, and
yeah,
books on the feels and not on the alien peen. It's my default.
Yeah. As much as I love alien peen, listen, as much as I love it, it's not all that's going for it. I also care that she tried to rescue him from drowning in a swimming pool when it turns out he could breathe underwater, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna answer a couple of questions. I'm gonna scroll way up because we have so many. Okay, so the first is, I wonder if viewers can't handle a pause, or do they actually read the books? They do read the books. There's different mental expectations when you're on TikTok versus when you're in the Kindle app. So much like you're going to have a much different expectation of when you get your food at a steakhouse than McDonald's. Like, if you had to wait 30 minutes for your meal at McDonald's, you'd probably be pretty angry, but at a steakhouse, that seems pretty reasonable. So they're gonna see different effects on TikTok versus actually reading the book. Because the people who are finding your content, if you're optimizing your content properly, are gonna be readers anyway. Bulk create, there is a function in Canva where you can upload a CSV file, which is like a spreadsheet file, and bulk create. I go over it a ton in my course, and people have been like, your course was suspiciously cheap, so I almost didn't buy it, and then the bulk create thing like was worth the money. Because I go really into detail on that. I just don't have time to go into all the detail it would take to teach everyone bulk create and also answer their questions. Um, Pause means not using the account, or is there a way to pause the account? It just means not using it for a couple of days, but also make sure you're still scrolling through your FYP, which stands for For You page. It is literally, I'm going to show everyone because some people don't know what this is. And I think it just makes sense to show y'all. I say y'all a lot. So it's on your home page, and it's just this little thing that says For You. It's all the way to the right every time. That is way too bright for everyone. There you go. It's the one all the way to the right that says For You. Because there's also like following, which just shows you people you're following, and a couple of other tabs. So yeah, just make sure you go through that and interact with things meaningfully. Erica, I'm really glad your video went super freaking viral. That's amazing. Can't get past 299 views. Original account is the best. My concern there is that TikTok either thinks you're a bot or you could be using images that they think are inappropriate. I found that they really hate the color like peach and orange and yellow, but especially like a peachy orange color. They're like, no, those are bodies doing adult things for sure. It could be a sunset or like a beach, and TikTok is like, those are bodies doing adult things, and it's like, it's just a beach. So I do all of my images in black and white. It also helps with readability of the actual thing. So I do black and white. I put a black image behind everything. And then I decrease the opacity of the actual photo to like 50% so that it's darker as well. I find it just works better than decreasing the brightness and contrast. But yeah, so either they think that the stuff might be inappropriate, or they think that you're a bot. And sometimes accounts just don't ever take off, and sometimes you're just like, well, guess I gotta delete that account. My advice is always just start a new account and move on. Don't get too attached to an account unless you're like Luna Pierce and you have like 250,000 followers on one account. Then do everything you can to revive that account. Dark authors, yeah, so despite them being dark and stuff, I would still go with like the emotional stuff. And for dark, I really love doing stuff that makes people angry or that makes people be like, whoa, that's a red flag. And my favorite thing for dark is also to use second person point of view when I'm writing out the hook. So I'll use actual like snippets of the book, but instead of being like, I walked toward him, the man who kidnapped me, it would be like, you walk towards the man who kidnapped you. So that people are like, whoa, why have I been kidnapped? Because part of what people love about reading is that, especially with dark romance, is that we're getting into these situations that in real life we would absolutely not do. Like, why would you go with this random guy you just met who shifted into a dragon in your apartment? Why would you do that? That's one of my reviews on one of my books, by the way. But in a book, she can do that, and she's probably not going to get murdered. Sorry, if this were TikTok, unalived. And that word, actually, I've seen it used in a book now, but it came about because TikTok would block stuff with the word killed or murdered.
And you use the word unalive in Facebook ads. Works great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's crossed over. It's wonderful.
That's amazing. Sometimes when I'm writing my books, I forget that I'm allowed to use words like murder. I'm like, I gotta write unalive. Wait, no, Amazon doesn't care if it's in the book. How do you get around the geospecificity of TikTok? What I've found for my clients, so I live in the US because I am super privileged like that, and what I found, what a lot of my clients do is that they get a US SIM card and a VPN, but if your VPN disconnects while you're using the SIM, then TikTok might be like, oh, you lied to me. You're not in the US. And then it'll switch you to the country you're in. Um, yeah, it's a whole thing. How to sell Dubcon and unaliving without breaking community guidelines. For unaliving, use the word unaliving. um, yeah, so what I like to do also for like the really dark stuff is I do the conversation immediately after that thing. So like with Untamed Vixen, I would not do, the scene where some guy gets tortured. I would do, you know, she just, unalived a guy, and then it's how people react to it. Because the quiet moments, and I actually heard this from an author that I used to really admire, and I went to a lot of her signings, like a lot when I was a teenager, but basically it's these quiet moments that make people fall in love with your books, with your characters. And so much romance especially is very character driven. Because that's what makes us fall in love with them falling in love. So instead of writing about the dark thing happening, write about the reaction afterwards, or what leads up to it. Give the TikTokers a cliffhanger before we get to that point. Because one, it's less likely to break community guidelines, but two, it gives them a reason to go into it. There's absolutely an audience on TikTok for Sweet and Closed Door. I have a client who took my course who she only writes like sweet or non-spicy content, and she makes an absolute ton of money. And then she actually doubled her sales the next day when she started posting slideshows with like the emotional hooks. Listen, I love emotional hooks so much. And you were saying earlier too, about how like you start getting used to it. Like the first one is the hardest, training yourself to see it is the hardest. And it's the same as when you're writing books. The first time you have to write a spicy scene, for example, and have to find a synonym for certain parts of the body, like you're gonna struggle. But when you're on your 20th, then you're like, yeah, I know what people like. I know what I'm comfortable writing. And it's the same with generating your TikTok hooks. You're going to start to see it everywhere. You're going to start to, whenever you're reading other people's books. And I do this because, I've written hooks for so many clients where I'll be reading a book for enjoyment and I'll like start to highlight a section and I'm like, wait, no, I don't have to write a hook about this. I'm not getting paid right now. I don't have to write TikTok hooks. And I'm like picturing what I should do for the TikTok for these. So it's a process and you learn it.
Yeah, you get your brain to work that way.
And you start to see it everywhere.
And to start, I went into my books and went to the popular highlights.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of got me into it. And I just saw someone post in the Facebook group for your course. I thought it was genius. She's like, look, reread your book, and any one of those angsty or heart emotional Cat Marks heartbeat moments, any of those, like, which sometimes you just have to reread your own book to remember. You're like, what happened in book 2 of that trilogy I wrote 5 years ago?
Book 3 in this 5-book series that came out in 2020 when a pandemic was happening.
Remember this at all? So cut paste that scene into Excel and then, pull out the description of it. And I found I've just started, I'm like a baby at this. I'm making the slideshow and I upload the video and I'm like, whoa, now that I see it in video form, I'm like, this is way too long. This is a block of text, but that's great news because one slide is now 5 slides.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I just got a longer slideshow and the longer slideshows too. I made a couple slideshows and I just couldn't think of more than 5 slides, probably because it was like 17 sentences on one picture. And I was like, man, I want more of this. I want to be doing this more. And so engaging as a viewer has been really interesting. And I have to say, if you write dark romance, I'm all over it for dark romance. I downloaded Untamed Fiction. I'm like, so if you write dark romance, you should be on there. Because I'm looking.
I love Untamed Fiction. Luna Pierce is my best friend in the whole world. We've been friends since 2020 because it was before she started publishing adult romance books. She was commenting on all my 20 books posts, and then I messaged her in May, and we have been like this ever since. Um, so we're getting matching purses in Vegas. I'm so excited. Yeah, are you working with authors other than dark romance, and how are they doing? I have authors at this point in so many genres that are doing so amazing. Lucy Eden is actually watching today, and she doesn't publish dark romance as far as I can tell from her stuff. And she's dominating TikTok right now. So yeah, any genre that has heavy emotional resonance, yes, there is an audience for it. It doesn't have to be romance even. It can be fantasy as long as it's like character driven with heavy emotional content. Because heavy emotional content is what gets people to read. The course is worth it. Free Facebook group. Yeah, I have a free Facebook group that's my self-publishing success one, which I haven't posted in a while because I've been running this other one for T Taylor's one. I was misreading. Yeah, her course is amazing. I'm taking it right now and it's so good. Steamy authors who are wide. I've found that wide authors still just focus on the emotional stuff, because what you want is you want people to get this emotional connection, especially if you're wide. We know how hard it is for wide authors in comparison to KU authors. And so getting people invested in the story before they even leave the app is so, so important. So what's emotional in all the books? Again, I'm telling you, read Universal Fantasy. It's gonna blow your mind. Like, I've never met T. Taylor. I've never had a conversation with her, but when I read that book, I was like, my life is forever changed.
I would marry her. She's already
yeah.
I would marry her.
Absolutely.
Just to me all the time. So yes.
Yeah. Do you think plot heavy books do well using the plot as a hook? No, I do not. Because your plot, it's your blurb. And sure, we can see, that this cool thing is happening and this might be our cup of tea, but it doesn't get people to keep reading your slides. It doesn't get people to keep watching your TikTok. What gets them to keep watching and reading your stuff is to go into these specific moments and like really just magnify these specific moments, like a page of the book, 2 pages of the book tops that's happening, and go into that scene and use parts of that scene word for word and then give a little bit of context. So and I never use the characters' names either, because I like the people to imagine that it's like if it were me, I'd be like, this is actually about me and Chris Pine. Because for now they don't need to know. They don't need to know who the guy is. They don't need to know anything about the girl. We want them to be able to imagine that it's them or their favorite character or whatever. And we don't want them to get icked out if the guy's name is their ex's name or something. Or like their son's name, which I've had somebody comment. They were like, "Oh no, that's my son's name. I can't." So I just take that out because it's distracting. I take out the names. I take out everything. So instead of saying, it's Dylan, I'll say it's her brother's best friend, or it's her billionaire boss, or whatever. Throw that Universal Fantasy in there. We want to know that it's the bad boy billionaire. We don't care that it's Dylan. We care that it's the bad boy billionaire boss that has been obsessed with her ever since she started working there. So for my stuff, really start leaning into the angst. Abso-frickin-lutely. Angst sells so well. Slideshows or videos where you show your face. You know what? It depends on how many spoons you have. Spoons is a term for like chronic illness and mental illness stuff, where it's like how much energy you have throughout the day. I absolutely cannot post face videos of my face, every single day of the week. But you should be posting on TikTok every day. So, also somebody asked about the link for the course. I believe Lee actually has an affiliate link, and since you invited me in here,
I do not. I
you
remember
don't?
affiliateness. I know I'm late to the party, but I do like to say that I do not have an affiliate link and I am in the course. And we are going to do some hook generation. People are asking for hook generation.
Yeah,
And you have a
absolutely.
Discord, which I'm also not in yet. And you're doing a live, and it's a live.
Yes, I do lives every Friday for everyone who's taken the course, and I will actually like go in and audit your TikTok account in the lives. Um, so yeah, for optimizing content, just go into hashtags on TikTok and then type in like your genre and then watch about 20 to 30 seconds of each video that you go to and then like it and comment on it for like 4 videos and then do that for a couple more hashtags and then go back to your FYP and then hold down, click not interested anytime the video is not book talk related and then keep going until your feed is entirely book talk. I will say my lesson in the course about that is much longer, but that's the gist of it. Deets on the course you speak of, Read Bolt Create. Yes, it's aligndigital.com. Somebody did link it. Can you run multiple accounts for the same author name? Absolutely. I mostly run shadow accounts, so I have like paranormal, romance, something. I don't use my name on most of my accounts, but all of them are my books. I run 11 accounts. Actually, I actively run 10, but I have 11. Multiple accounts for the same author name. I can make people angry. I love making people angry. One of my clients wrote a book that was a cheating redemption story, and oh, her hooks made people mad. And oh, her hooks made her so much money. I was so happy. Does watching lives and commenting help keep accounts active? Probably. If you're watching lives and interacting, then I would hope so because you're actively engaging for a long period of time. Basically, TikTok wants you to stay on the app. Do you suggest authors do lives? I've tried it. It hasn't worked for me. I did have somebody tell me I was going to hell for writing about demons, so that was cool.
The lives are strange because I felt like there was a lot of 13-year-old boys who were showing up. And
yeah, lives are weird and they don't really match your algorithm at all.
Yeah, it wasn't my people, whereas I was also live in my Facebook group and they were all my people. And it's like, I'm not TikTok again.
Yeah. Is the word danger a trigger? When in doubt, change out the A's for the @ symbol, E's for threes, and I use hashtag for use. That's what I do when in doubt. If I do mention, the words of things like instead of finish for a sex scene, like if it brings up a sex scene, instead of the word finish or, other words, I'll use the little checkered race flag for finish. But yes, I feel like I sounded sarcastic when I said I'm very privileged to live in the US and have access to this. I wasn't being sarcastic. I absolutely mean it. Like I don't think I'd be able to do what I'm able to do mentally. Like I don't think I'd have the mental capability to do this much if I didn't live in the US and had to deal with all the other stuff. List of words not to use. Yeah, Danielle, I love your list of words. But also I have a scene in my new book that involves a knife and it's for spicy stuff. So right off, he's a reaper and can't die, if that gives you an idea. I decided to go real dark. Course go into finding those hooks in your own writing. Yes, it absolutely does. I feel like Lee, I don't know if you've gotten to that point in the course yet where it talks about going into your own books and finding hooks. I'm also, once I finish the book I'm currently writing, I'm going to record as I find all of my hooks for this one. And I'm going to record like creating the stuff for it, and that's all going in the course. I just need to finish writing the book before I can make the hooks for it. Vellum manuscript and spreadsheet side by side. Smart. Book Bible person and just told them to highlight the angst. Yes, excellent. Let's see. For a burner phone number, find a good US zip code and get a Google phone number if you can. Luna is the sweetest. I'm trying to scroll through. There's so many messages I haven't read yet. Romantic shorts like Insta Love. Any tricks to find the audience in those fast-paced shorts? If you have a bunch of them, I would find like the most like emotionally hard-hitting thing, especially if the guy is like really sappy. Those can work really well too. I just find they don't work quite as well as like really angsty stuff or stuff that like really makes people angry or confuses people. But like anything that just makes people feel something. I love the idea that you all are starting a like angsty book hook group. Angst, heart, no sex, and slideshows over videos. It depends on how much energy you have for your TikTok account, because videos can do really well. It also depends on your backdrop. If you don't have a really nice backdrop, if you don't have really good lighting, if you don't know how to act on camera, I did 5 years of speech and debate, so I'm pretty good on camera, but being on camera for the first time can be terrifying. So you know, it depends on you, and what you want to do. Lives and audits. Cool. Lucy was like, here, use my affiliate link. Absolutely, Lucy. If you have it. I love Lucy. Lucy is actually my top affiliate because she saw my course and was basically like, there's no way this is a good course. Like, it's $99. And then she watched the first video, which, if you're not familiar with TikTok, the first one is like, here's how to open the app, and here's how to make a post, and here's what filters are and how to use them. Like, I want it to be accessible to everyone, whether you can use the app or not. But she was watching that and she was like, oh no, I just paid for a garbage thing. And then the very next video is deep dive into the algorithm, and she was like, whoa. And so now she's my most avid supporter. A lot of success over 3 to 5 accounts. Last 2 weeks, content is bombing. TikTok has been doing a lot of updates the past couple of weeks. So, you know, definitely keep an eye on that. Because basically, if your FYP seems to have some random stuff in it that's not Book Talk, then that means they've updated the app. And it's not just that your FYP isn't optimized, that means your readers' FYPs aren't optimized. So they're not as likely to see your content. I feel like I always forget to mention that. If your FYP isn't optimized, that means that everyone else's also isn't, which is why we see these big dips in views, because there's millions of people whose FYPs are not showing them books, whose FYPs are not showing them dark romance, whose FYPs are not showing them, you know, sweet books or bookstagrammers or whatever. Book talkers, not bookstagrammers. Let's see. Erica also has a link. I really want everyone to use affiliate links. If you're gonna buy the course, use the affiliate links, because I want to pay people. I paid out over 1,000 in affiliate stuff last month. It was fine. Everybody else was happy. Terrified of being on camera. Yeah, if you don't want to be on camera, you absolutely don't have to. I have somebody who's been making their stuff in the app, who's taken my course. They've been making stuff and posting one a day in the app, and they've been going viral every single time making slideshows in the app. Slideshow vid, when it comes to algorithm, I do 20 slides or more. My absolute lowest is 15 slides. And that seems really long, but if you have a compound sentence, then split it in 2 or 3, and you start to see how much easier it is to fill 20 slides. If you write in different genres, do you have a different TikTok account for each, even if it's the same author name? I have a different TikTok account for each of my series, actually. Because that helps me keep track of which of my hooks are working per series. It helps me keep track of what is converting well based off of views, and it helps me keep track of views per series. Although I am pivoting a little bit here in the next couple of weeks, but I don't really want to give advice if it ends up not working, because I am willing to take the risk on my accounts fully crashing over the next month, because my book income is not all that pays my bills at this point, but I don't want you to take the risk if your books are all that pays your bills. So I'm going to try testing a couple of things, but I don't want to like say that this is what I'm going to do and then have a bunch of people try it and it turns out that it doesn't work. What do you think about having a TikTok shop? I'm testing out TikTok shop. Anytime TikTok releases a new feature, they're going to promote videos that use that feature. So I am actually going to be doing videos on my like actual official author account using the TikTok shop link, because even if it's just like a link to that book or like a sweatshirt or something that's based off of the book, that I do off of like a print on demand store, then TikTok is going to say, oh, there's a shop link and we make money every time this person sells that thing. So we're going to promote this video a lot more. This video is going to get a lot more views, even if the video has nothing to do with like the sweatshirt. Can't wait to meet you in person at 20 books. I'm so excited for 20 books and I haven't started packing at all. I'm leaving in, oh God, 3 days. And I'm flying to Vegas with a 2-year-old. I have a different account for each series, but do I only do one style of content? I do one style of content per account, and I do one style of content, period, because I'm lazy. I bulk create all of my slides. I draft a month's worth of slides in like an hour, and then I just post on it whenever I have a minute or two. I just like go click drafts and click of the thing and then click post. I think I work about 15 minutes a day on TikTok. That's literally why I started running like TikTok services like on a larger scale than just for Luna, is because I was like, I got nothing to do. I'm so bored. I need something to do with my brain. And I know how TikTok works. And like I said earlier in this live, I absolutely want every single person to be rich, especially women. I want every woman I know to be a bajillionaire. Have I used Later to schedule TikToks automatically? I haven't. It's only been like a couple of weeks that they started allowing exterior apps to schedule posts, so I haven't had a chance to test post scheduling. But I'm lazy, and that means I'm gonna because that means that I can do all of them in like a day and not have to touch TikTok for a month. What do I create my content in? I do Canva for everything. Does it work, or does TikTok think I'm a bot? Depends on the account. I have some accounts that get like at least a few thousand views for every video, with the occasional viral one. And then let us know. My biggest issue is that I'm asleep when the US is awake. I would just do before you go to bed. Although I haven't found any issue with timing. TikTok doesn't really have optimal posting times. They've started doing what YouTube does, which is where they'll show the video to like a select number of people, i.e. TikTok's 200 to 300, which is basically a dungeon that some people feel. But they'll show it to that many people, and then TikTok will decide the optimal times. TikTok is going to be the one to figure out and decide when everyone should be, like when that video should be shown to people, because TikTok wants people to stay on the app. They want to show people content that's going to keep them on the app. So if your content keeps people on your video for longer, and keeps them interested, then that's what's going to be that's what's going to go viral, and it's going to go viral when they say so, because it's going to go viral when they know it's going to go viral. Because where I run 10 accounts, and I can kind of get an idea of what works. I can get an idea of what works for mine, right? For my books. But I don't have an overview of, 6 billion accounts or however many TikTok accounts there are. TikTok has that. They know, in Joplin, Missouri, what's going to go viral at what time, and who all's going to watch it and from what regions. I don't have access to that data, and they do, so they know, and they're, showing what's going viral and stuff. They know where to put viral things, and they know if your thing is doing well and keeping people on the app, they know when that should go up and when that should start posting. Warm up accounts on my Canadian cell phone and then pass the account to my USPA to run. I have no idea if that's a problem, actually. I don't think I have anybody who I've worked with that has specifically like started it on theirs and then passed it to a USPA. As I'm testing out new features, do I plan to send out updates with your results or add to the course? Yes. Course is constantly updating because TikTok is a living app. It's constantly changing. And I do share the same content across all my accounts for each book. So I share the same hooks for this book onto the other account for that book. I just use different background images so that TikTok doesn't see me doing duplicate content and being like, this has already been posted on TikTok before. You know, that's how TikTok talks, I think. One of the things I love to say is that I'm really good at TikTok and I understand TikTok really well. That doesn't mean I like it. I like what it can do for me, but it's kind of a jerk. Never use the same image for the same hook twice. You can use the same image, but basically there's this thing called metadata, and if you understand this, great. But there are definitely people who don't understand it. Metadata is like the computer's information on the image. So like the date it was downloaded, the computer it was downloaded on, the exact app, like if it was Canva for Mac, or if it was Canva on Safari, or Canva on Google Chrome, or Canva for Android phone. They can tell how it was downloaded and stuff. That's all of the metadata. So if the metadata is the same, that's what really matters. If it's the same image, but you've just re-downloaded it, then that shows up as new metadata. So you can use the same background. I would just make sure to keep new metadata. Re-download it so that it shows, well, this wasn't downloaded a month ago. This was downloaded this morning. That kind of thing. 10 accounts, 1 post per day. 300 slideshows at once when you bulk create in an hour. Let's see. I do about 1 account a day because it's like an hour per account. Why am I getting a phone call? Ew. So I only do like 1 per day because I don't have the mental energy to draft a whole bunch. And I do 3 posts a day. So I post 42 every 2 weeks. So yeah, I do like 84 drafts a day. And it doesn't take very long. It's like an hour, maybe a little more depending on the account and depending on how many slides are average, because some of them are lower toward like 17, 18, 20, and some of them are like 30, 32 slides. So it depends on if I'm doing a lot of the 20 slides or a lot of the 32 slides, because that's a lot more thumb clicking. Lee, do you have any other questions? I feel like I've just been talking and talking.
No, that's great. I didn't mean to be interrupting so much before, but
oh no, I love it.
And I think to sum up, they go off of time watched. So get them past 3 seconds with your hook, use an emotional hook, try to get them to 20 seconds. And you can train your brain to write these hooks or to pull them out naturally, just kind of spotlight them that you're already doing them in your books. And yeah, that's totally awesome. Thank you so much. And
yeah,
I will drop the recording in the Millionaire Author Mastermind and on YouTube. And if anyone has any questions, y'all can be posting in the comments and maybe we'll get to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And
also changed, we'll just do this again.
Yeah, and if you want to take the course, if you're in the live, a bunch of people have linked their affiliate links. I love when people use their affiliate links because I want people to get paid for hustling, because they're doing a lot of work for me that means I don't have to do. If you're watching it on YouTube, I'm gonna make sure that Lee gets a link and use her link, please, because I want to pay her because I appreciate her so much. If you do want to take the course, it is a comprehensive TikTok for authors course.
Thank you. 50 people showed up. Thank you all for
showing. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Your questions.
Thank you all.
Awesome. So
thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I had tons of fun. I love talking about TikTok. Even though I hate TikTok, I could talk about it all day.
It's a very millennial thing to say. And on that note,
bye.
Prioritize your mental health, but also have fun on TikTok.
Yes.